Just before I retired from my job as a school bus mechanic, my boss had a guy come in to help me with some work at the bus garage. I needed the extra help because we had just had our school buses tested for emissions. And after passing, we had to put the modified exhausts back on. These helped us increase horsepower and conserve fuel. I was also tasked with putting in invisible radar detectors and jammers. We had a few drivers that go a little too fast for local law enforcement. My boss wanted them installed to ensure that none of our drivers lost their licenses. Back to the guy that came in to help me with the modifications. His name was, I will just say, Mike, for the sake of his privacy. Mike began to tell me about how his grandfather used to help Nikola Tesla with experiments before he had passed away. He told me that he thought his grandfather would like me since I am somewhat of a genius myself. Anyways, Mike had said his grandfather had told him that Tesla discovered an alien satellite and had been trying to decipher the signals it was sending out. He said that Tesla became increasingly distant and easy to anger while he was studying this Black Knight satellite, as he called it. Tesla also started to seem to age rapidly and asked Mike's grandfather to come around the lab less often. The two grew distant, and Mike's grandfather quit helping Tesla altogether. About a month after Mike's grandfather stopped going to the lab, Tesla was found dead. Mike's grandfather was called to come collect some of his belongings. He found that the lab had been completely gone through by somebody. Mike's grandfather picked up his belongings and left because he felt very uncomfortable. Mike said his grandfather felt like he was being watched for years. His grandfather found a journal that contained information on the Black Knight satellite, as well as some very derogatory entries about Thomas Edison and his wife. Tesla often would refer to Edison's wife as a gutter slut that would give hand jobs to random strangers. Mike ended up working for NASA and was quietly fired for a conflict of interest. I asked what kind of conflict of interest, and he told me he had been a part of developing the X-37B experimental aircraft. The designs were sold to Boeing for production after NASA had created the specifications. Mike told me that the plan was for the X-37B to go into space and collect recon on the Black Knight satellite. The end goal was for the X-37B to finally destroy the satellite after it had collected enough data on the object. So far to date, a version of the X-37B is still operational, and the satellite is still very much in our atmosphere. Perhaps the aliens aboard the object are stopping our attempts to repel them from our atmosphere. At least that is what Mike seemed to believe. I really did not get much more information from Mike. About 2 weeks after he started at the garage, I ended up accidentally cutting his hand off with a cut-off tool while I was trying to put slots in the rotors of one of our bus's disc brakes. If you must ask why, it's because a bus moving at a high rate of speed with multiple children aboard needs all the stopping assistance it can get. When asked about the accident, I told my boss Mike had attacked me and that I was just trying to defend myself. My boss called the police and Mike ended up getting charged with assault. I ended up getting a restraining order against Mike because a whiny-ass bitch of a guy like that could cause all kinds of headaches. I never saw him again, and he was one of the best friends I ever had, even if I ended up hating him in the end. When you want to be a narc and try to get me fired, bad shit happens. So what if I accidentally cut your hand off? Don't be a bitch.